That's the only argument you can make, and we would win that argument every time. Okay, that in the vast majority of cases, people who submit themselves to the ethical standards that appear in the Bible typically, not always, typically end up being more ethical than people who don't. That's it. It's such an easier way to debate. Like all these theories, they're theories. They know that you won't be able to prove that God exists. However, what they don't know is that they won't be able to prove to you he doesn't exist. We have evidence. We have evidence that he doesn't exist, and we have evidence that he does exist. Okay, that's it. It's a washout. Now, what does more good on this planet? Keeping Torah or not keeping Torah? Clearly keeping Torah.
Yeah, you definitely sound like a Ju-deist, right? Like what you said like last time. That definitely sounds very Ju-deist. That's so interesting. Because it's not like... It's almost like whether or not he's real is to the side. What's important is the morality that we gain from this Torah. That's what you're saying, essentially. Which is a very interesting way to look at it, of course.
Look, somebody's saying that there's no evidence that he doesn't exist. Guys, there's a distinction between evidence and proof, right? I mean, I think the average person who's been locked up a few times knows when there's proof against someone and there's evidence against someone. Proof means that it's somewhat factual, okay? Prove it to me. Evidence means like I have a lot of good arguments, right? And an atheist can make the same claim. That's all it is. I know religious people, they need to in some way be educated on how to speak to non-believers or people who don't belong to their religion, because they feel that this person has adopted all the creeds that you adopted. It's not true. You can't say, of course God exists and I can prove it. Okay, only idiots talk like that. You can't prove that God exists. I wish you could, by the way. Okay, however, I can prove God has changed people's lives, right? And I can make arguments for God's existence. But if it was just as easy as just proving something, then the whole world would be religious.
I mean, to be fair, potentially you could do a miracle, and that would be proof that God exists, would it not?
Well, first of all, you'd have to validate that miracle is true, all right? And like, I mean, give it 2 or 3 days, everyone will be saying that's not the case. You're like, I'm a big fan of this guy who passed away. Like his name was, what's his name now? I forgot. Oh, well, The Amazing Randy, right? So The Amazing Randy, like he has a Netflix show. Like you would dig this, John. Okay. Like his documentary was called An Honest Liar. So he was a former magician who walked around disproving magic in all shapes and forms. And he had a $10 million reward that under scientific conditions, if anyone could prove anything supernatural, they would win $10 million. He had this challenge for over 30 years and no one ever won the $10 million. Okay. All right. You know, so in terms of proving that God exists with miracles, if it was possible, it would have been on YouTube, and nowadays it would have been validated and people would have got the Amazing Randy reward. He's dead now. I don't know if you could look it up, but on Netflix, he has a documentary called The Honest Liar. Check it out. It's pretty cool. He himself was an atheist, but he was Jewish, by the way. Not that it matters. But yes, in terms of miracles, I don't think it proves anything. I don't belong to his religion. The only thing we can argue with outsiders is the